Hello, this is a continuation of the Toronto Caribbean soccer history here. We have on board as coach of the Toronto AFC, Robin Fraser. He will give part of his Caribbean background and for all the aspiring coaches, what it takes and stuff to make it to the big league, which is the MLS here in North America. Gonna show that we continue to contribute and all the way from in the mid-60s to 2025 into 2026. We're here with TFC coach Robin Fraser. Robin, this is for the Toronto Caribbean soccer history. Could you give us a little bit of your background?
Yeah, I was born in Kingston, Jamaica. I have an older brother and an older sister. My parents, my father was a bank manager for Barclays Bank back in the day. And grew up, went to school in Kingston called St. Peter and Paul Prep School. And that's where I really developed a love for the game. Between that and my father taking me to the National Stadium for the 1974 World Cup games. So that was my introduction to high-level soccer, is watching that in the national arena in Jamaica. And coming out of that, I was hooked, and I've loved soccer ever since.
So what, you were a player too, correct? What, I understand you were a defender, and what's your level you reached, and what got you into this coaching thing?
Well, I went to FIU in Miami, and then from there, played there. And then I played for the Colorado Foxes in the APSL. That was from 1990 to 1995. And then in 96, when the league started, I got drafted to go to the Galaxy. And I played there. And then Colorado Rapids, Columbus Crew. And I have something like 27 caps for the U.S. national team.
What make you want to get into the coaching? As I said earlier, it's an insecure thing. I told everybody that get, especially at the national level, it's very insecure. It's tougher than the club level. But what make you want to get into this thing?
I love the X's and the O's. I love the tactics. I love the manipulation. I loved it as a player, and I actually started coaching kids almost maybe a year or two after I started playing professionally. So I thought coaching made me a better player. Coaching made me a better player, because when you have to actually articulate your thoughts as to why you do things naturally, it made so much more sense to me. And then I loved how the game unfolded in my mind as I started to teach it. And so when I was done playing, I coached sporadically throughout the time I was playing. So when I was done playing, I just thought, I love it. I would love to help develop young players. I would love to move the needle in terms of how young players are being coached. And actually, the direct answer to your question is, in the latter years of my career, I had so many young players coming who were supposed to be great, and they were absolutely unprepared, and they had no idea about how to think for themselves. They had no idea how to adapt to different situations, and I felt like the preparation of young players wasn't good enough. So I actually got into coaching thinking I wanted to coach young players in an academy and that sort of thing. And then once you get exposed at the professional level, you realize this is the game, how you envision it at the highest level, and the best athletes and that sort of thing. And so once you get into professional coaching, it's hard to get out. You love it.
Okay, and in terms of, you've been released before, or people don't call it fire or whatever. You've been released before.
Sure.
You know how to get back on the saddle after things like this.
Well, I've had I've been fired twice. Chivas as a head coach back in 2012, but that whole organization was so dysfunctional. They actually did me a favor. But you know how you get back on the horse. Part of it is, to be quite honest, I think I developed a good reputation as a player in the league. And the reason why I think I was able to do that is because I treat people with respect and the way I want to be treated. So even when you get knocked down, it's not like people are going, good for him. Immediately people are rooting for me to get back into the league. So then I had the assistant coaching stint with New York Red Bulls, and then came here when Greg was a head coach. So I was an assistant coach here for 5 years, almost 5 years. Then I got a head coaching job in Colorado. That went well for a number of years. A number of things happened. I got fired there, and then I had to go through a number of interviews. I think I had 9 interviews before I got this job.
And okay, before this job, you had some really good years here with championship.
Yes.
What was that for you?
Oh, that was fantastic. And you know, I tell people coaching is the next best thing to playing, and to have had the fortune to be an assistant coach for 2 2 MLS champions. It's such an unbelievably gratifying feeling. And my time here with
What was
Greg,
the first one? And
2009 with Real Salt Lake, we had a bunch of young coaches, and we were all just trying to find our way. And it was a good situation for me because I got to do a lot as an assistant coach for a young head coach. And so to win was real validation of some of the thoughts and ideas that I had, so which was great. But then to come here, because Toronto had been around since 2006 or 7, and through 14 hadn't made the playoffs. So to be a part of the group that turned things around here, and to go from, you know, one of the worst teams in the league to the best team in the league in 2 or 3 years, 3 years, it was extremely gratifying. And to do it with people that I love and respect, guys that I played with on the Galaxy, that was part of the staff here. And then the people in the building here, Tim Bezbachenko was a GM at the time, a fantastic leader. It was incredibly gratifying, and incredible to see how the city supported the team as we did well through those years. And that's one of the things, you know, I said I went through 9 interviews and didn't get any of them, and then got this job. And the ironic thing is, people say things work out for a reason. There was no job I would have wanted more than this one. And so to have this come up and this be the one that I get, and now I'm reunited with so many people in the building from the first time around, that this is a dream job. And I know that it was going to be a lot of work based on what was going on.
does it say a lot for the city? And now that the Blue Jays are in, what does it say for the city? If you like
great.
it, yes.
It's great. I mean, I was here when we won, and it was fantastic. And then when the Raptors won, it was almost 10 times as big as when we won. And that was one of the most incredible nights I've ever seen. And now we just need to wait a couple of weeks, and when the Blue Jays win theirs, this is a fantastic sports town, and it's going to be nice.
Well, it was nice. As my mom always says, nothing happens before its time, and I want to thank you for giving me the time. Just one thing.
Yeah, man.
I have you on record in one of the press conferences. I'm not too sure if the public would know now that you knew me or knew about me, but I asked you about the offensive exploits, and you told me that it seemed like I'm beating you up.
Yeah.
That was the thing. Coach, based on your being comfortable with your defensive effort, what do you think about your offensive exploits in terms of?
I feel like you're trying to bait me into saying something. I feel like you're trying to bait me here. And the fact of the matter is, they sit 5 guys in front of the ball, in front of the goal. They have 3 in front of them and 2 in front of them. They're very compact. They're very difficult to break down. And we talked about a number of ways to break them down. They don't give you a lot. You have to absolutely earn everything. And I felt like we had different ways that we tried to probe them, and we had some decent looks that didn't quite turn into what we would have hoped in the very end. But it's, again, a work in progress, and I feel like guys' understanding and the relationships on the attacking end are getting better and better. And you know, we had moments from Theo, we had moments from Fede, and having our wingers be effective causes them to, that's one of the ways that we can kind of break up their back five. If our wingers are effective, then they need to send someone else out to double, and then some spaces open up. But it's a tricky proposition to break this team down. They're okay with sitting deep. They're okay with dealing with crosses because they have three very big, strong center backs who are good at clearances, and they play very much suited to the personnel that they have. And having said that, I thought we did a good job of getting in some decent positions, but in the end, it doesn't feel that way because we didn't score a goal out of it. But given the way that they play and the things that we tried to do, I thought it was decent overall, but certainly we would like to have gotten more out of it.
Are you in a sticky wicket, or I wasn't beating you on? I wanted to know if you knew up there that your offense was, and you have the job of putting the pieces together from since the season started and into next year, should you keep the job. What's your philosophy? I know you're putting pieces together, but what's the philosophy? There are two saying that defense win championship, and the best offense is best defense is a good offense. So which one?
Why does it have to be one?
Okay, what's your philosophy?
I think you have to be complete. You have to be able to defend well. If you can't stop teams, then you're looking to win game 6-5. And if you're looking to win game 6-5, then you probably need to get Messi and a whole bunch of players like Messi. So you have to be able to stop teams first. So you have to think about how you want to defend. And then you have to obviously generate and create chances and score goals. So for me, there's no way to separate them. The whole thing is one thing, and it's how the team functions as a team is that's the objective. Is in certain moments in certain games you may have to defend more than in other games, and in certain games you may have the ball more than the other. So the idea is to have the team as well prepared as possible for every opponent that we go into. And there are certain teams that, as I said, you're going to have to defend more. Certain teams are very good with the ball. Certain teams have very good players. And then there are other teams that you think you can really dominate and be on top of them. And at that point, your attack needs to be very sharp. So for me, there is no way to differentiate between the two. And people like to try to pin you down to some sort of, this is how I do it, this is how you do it. I think the way to do it is to have a group that is adaptable and on the day can deal with whatever the opponent does.
And to end with a 4-2, I thought about you and said, I hope you understand. And that's why I asked you the question to your philosophy, if it's your offense and stuff. So there's a method to my madness. I don't ask much questions, but the public knows when I ask a question. This is a result-driven job you have, right? This one is for the young coaches. I would like them to know, based on the insecurities of the job, right, how you've been able to win, lose, and still maintain that type of composure that you have.
I think you have to have belief in what you're doing. I think at the end of the day, you have to have conviction in what you're doing. And part of that is you have a plan, you try to execute the plan as well as you can. If you find that your team can't do what it is you need them to do, then you have to find other ways. And so I think at the end of the day, so my point of that is, yes, you have conviction, but you also have to be pragmatic. And you have to understand, how do you handle the pressure? If you don't want the pressure, don't take the job. But if you do take the job, then I think you have to have real belief in what you're doing. And, I think to get a team to buy into you, you have to be very genuine. And I'm the worst salesperson in the world. But as a coach, you are a salesman. You're selling your philosophy, you're selling your ideas. And if you asked me to sell your phone, I would have no idea how to do that. But if you ask me to sell my philosophy, it's something I believe in very deeply. So then I believe there come many points in your career where, because of results, various other things, you can question yourself and you can question your philosophy and is this the right way to go about it? But in those moments, I think you have to believe in what you're doing, or if you feel like a change needs to be made, you need to believe in that too. But if you're wishy-washy, then I think you're I think that's a tough place to be, because there will come times where there's pressure. There will come times where you're being questioned. And like I said, you have to believe in what you do.
I'm so glad to have to meet you now, finally, and I want to wish you all the best.
Thank you so
All
much.
right?
Appreciate
Okay,
it.
and hopefully we
Okay.
meet more
Yeah.
for 2026.
All right, man.
All right?
Take care
Thank
here.
you. All right.
Okay.
All right. Stay tuned.